I'm at Mama's Happy, and Amanda's going to help me with a project. I have an upholstered chair that has served its purpose, but needs a little bit of a refresh. So she has assured me that she can help me make my chair over by simply using paint, which I'm skeptical of because it's upholstered. But reupholstering costs a lot of money, so I'm game. I'm going in. It's a good thing I have muscles for lifting furniture and things. Amanda, I'm here.
Oh, look at you.
I brought this chair.
That is in need of a makeover.
It is. I mean, I loved it, but
Yeah.
now it's time for a refresh. And what I'm skeptical of is this whole paint situation on this fabric.
Yes.
But you've assured me
I have
we're
assured
good.
you it will be just fine.
Okay, let's do it. Okay. Let's get started. It's all about paint today.
It is. So reupholstering is a tough thing to do and expensive to pay to have done.
Correct.
So we have started using chalk paint to do our own reupholstering.
I feel like paint on upholstery is going to feel really crunchy and gross.
I
but
know.
Is it okay?
That's what I thought too, and I promise you the end result, you will be stunned.
I love this chair. It's actually the perfect size
Yeah.
for my living room. It's comfortable, but it just needs a little refresh.
Well, and it's got great bones, and the fabric is in great condition. There's not, even though there's stains on it, there's not any rips or tears or anything like that. So it's a perfect candidate for paint.
Okay, so how do we get started?
Okay, so I have the brush sitting here in water, so it's nice and wet. And then you're just gonna
So
dip it in paint.
I want my brush to be
Want
wet.
your brush wet. And I always like to work with a can of water, can of paint. And then now see, I've really loaded that up with paint. I'm gonna hand it off to you.
There's a lot of paint on
And
there.
then any which way, hang on, you're dripping.
Okay.
There you go. All right, get to work, get to work.
Okay. Oh, so ordinarily I would be panicked right now because I just got paint
Nope,
on this
that's the
fabric, but
idea.
I'm gonna do it. Okay.
Yes, go.
So just, ooh.
Any which way, there's no rhyme or reason. You just wanna really get it worked into that fabric. And what the
Okay.
water is doing is just thinning out the paint a little bit, because we don't want the paint just sitting on top of the fabric. We really want it soaking in.
So we're wetting the fabric
We're wetting the
essentially.
fabric,
Do I need to
yeah.
dip my brush in water every single time?
Here's what I like to do, so that you don't end up with a drippy mess everywhere, is dip it in the paint, spread the paint on, then come back, dip it in the water, and paint the water on over the paint.
Got it.
I'm sure if you asked people that have done this project, everybody would give you a little bit different steps of how they do it, but the end result is the same.
And we are using these small cans of paint. Is one can of paint going to be enough?
Oh, more than enough, yeah. Yep, a quart of paint should do probably 3 of these chairs.
Okay. Oh yeah, the water really does. I like that method. I may ask other people, they may tell me something different. I'm going with what you just told me. Okay.
Because you now have experience.
I do, yes. Okay, so I then cover this whole thing, including, so then what about the wood? Do I use the water on the wood too?
You wouldn't need to use the water on the wood. But one thing about it, you can decide. I like to go on and paint the wood, paint the arms and legs just the same color as I'm doing the upholstery. And then I may come back later and paint a contrasting color over that. But at least I've got a uniform look to start with.
Got it. So I have a question. I've used chalk paint before, and there is that wax finish that we do. Do we do that on the upholstery as well, or is it just on the wooden arms and legs? Or
Great question. So definitely on the arms and legs, because that's where if it's going on wood, you definitely want to seal it. On fabric, you kind of have a choice. So once this dries, it's going to feel a little crunchy.
okay.
Okay, but we're not done. And then we're going to take our sanding block to it and sand it down. And you'll notice it'll feel just like the fabric feels before it was painted. Now some opt to go on and add wax after that. And what you're going to end up with is something that feels more like a soft leather. Okay. What's nice about it then is you can just wipe it down. So for chairs that get a lot of use, you might go for the soft leather feel, but the fact that you can wipe it down to clean it.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So if this chair, if I just wanted to look pretty, this painting system seems great, but like what if it's really going to get some use and abuse?
Then I would absolutely wax it. And then the beautiful thing is if it got a stain on it or something that you couldn't get off, you just grab your paint right over that stain, grab your wax over it in 5 minutes.
How durable is this? I have 4 kids, 3 of them being teenagers, and everything in my house really takes a lot of abuse.
It's incredibly durable. Because that paint is soaking in the fabric, it's not just sitting on top, you really get a great durability out of it.
And one thing I think about, because I've had this happen to me with like picnic benches and things like this, but like, the paint's not gonna come off like on people's pants, or?
It does not.
Okay, because
I know, we were worried about the same thing. I had to do it to be a believer, so.
all right, I'm gonna keep painting.
Okay, good.
Amanda, I finished painting the chair, and it took a little while, honestly. I mean, this is a labor of love because you want to get every crevice and make sure it's really coated.
Right.
And then we let it dry. How long do you, I mean, I actually had to go home.
Yes, it definitely, with fabric, it should definitely dry overnight.
Okay.
And depending on humidity levels, if it's super humid, it may even take 48 hours. So, and 2 thin coats is better than 1 thick coat. So it's better to, instead of globbing it on, it's better to water it down, get it thin. If you feel like you need to come back with a second coat. This, I think, looks pretty good without a second coat. But if you looked at it and thought, I see some areas, the nice thing with chalk paint, again, you can just hit those areas. You don't have to paint the whole thing.
So, as I suspected, this feels crunchy.
It does feel crunchy, but we're not done.
Okay.
Okay, here's your secret weapon, is the sanding block. So about 220 sandpaper. You wouldn't have to have the block sandpaper. This is just an easier thing.
I like the black. Yeah.
Block is nice. And then you're just giving it a really light, you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, just a really light sanding, and all that's going to do is loosen up. I promise.
Should I start?
Go to town. Okay. And you don't need to stay in one area too long. Just, yep, that's all you're doing is a really light, quick, and do just what you did where you touched it to see how it felt, and you'll be able to feel the difference.
Yeah.
See? It's like magic.
It is like magic.
Now, as we mentioned before, you could just leave it like that. It feels just like the fabric felt, really.
Yeah.
Or you might say, no, I think I want to wax and seal it.
Okay. I feel like I do want to wax and seal it because the durability, but also the look.
Yep.
So how do I get started with that?
Okay, so first you want to just get rid of the dust that's sitting on top. I just either wipe it with my hands, or if you don't like having all that on your hands, just get a cloth.
Okay.
Sometimes an old paintbrush just to brush that off. But as long as there's not any, major areas, it's fine.
I'm all about less is more.
Okay, good.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
We don't have to dirty another thing. All right, so then I like to use the wax brush to put the wax on. You could do it with an old cloth. Start with very little wax on your brush, okay? And then you're just gonna wipe it on just like you would on wood furniture. And just keep spreading it around. And again, just like when you're putting it on a piece of furniture, you want to make sure that it doesn't feel greasy, tacky,
Sticky, which it does now,
Okay,
so I'm
you
going to
gotta
need to wipe
keep
that.
spreading it.
Yes, and that does actually feel like a leather.
Feels like old leather, yeah. So again, it changes, it gives it a little bit of a sheen, a little different feel, but more durability.
So Amanda, how much do you think this project cost? So first of all, let's talk about reupholstery,
Okay.
because to get a chair like this reupholstered, I'm just gonna ballpark it. It's gonna be at least $300 because this isn't just taking a seat cover out and doing the whole staple, which is something I'm really good at.
Yes.
But you've got welting, you've got all of that kind of stuff. So what do you think?
I mean, upholstery is expensive because it's hard work. I mean, I see why they charge so much. So I would agree with that. And I would say in paint and wax for materials, you're probably at about $10.
that's a pretty good deal.
That's a pretty good deal.
And we repurposed something that is super sturdy.
Yeah.
And will last now another
That's right.
few years in my home and look great.
Yes. And you can just repaint it when you're tired of gray.
I sure could. And I get tired of things often.
Well, it's okay when you only spend $10 on it.
Yes. So it's just labor and a little bit of paint.
You got it. Nicely done.
Thanks.